Uncertainty hangs over the future of Greece after it failed to secure a new bailout deal with Europe. The country has rejected an offer to continue with the existing terms, calling them absurd. Instead, it wants to do away with austerity. But Greece now risks losing funding from the European Central Bank and its Eurozone membership. And time is running out to reach an agreement. Let's bring in CNN's Nino Dos Santos from London. And Nina, just over 10 days to go until the current terms are set to expire. And the Greek finance minister has described the deal offered by Europe as absurd and unacceptable. How is all of this playing out?
Well, as you'd imagine, there's a lot of acrimony. There's also a bit of optimism, according to the Greek finance minister, at least according to his statements yesterday, leaving those failed talks. Another round of failed talks. We've had at least 2 or 3 of those over the course of the last week and a half alone. The last week and a half, Lynda, has been dominated by furious diplomacy here on all sides, both at the prime ministerial and head of state level. So Alexis Tsipras, the new Greek prime minister, also trying very hard to come to some kind of terms that the European Union and the Eurozone countries will be in agreement with. But it really boils down to the finance ministers of those countries that share the single currency, the Eurozone. And this is where we saw a notable split yesterday evening. At one point, according to a number of newspapers, including the Financial Times, a document was tabled to Greece, which Greece was ready to sign, and then that was taken away, and the Eurozone finance ministers, in the face of some staunch resistance to the terms on that document from Germany and the Netherlands, reportedly, a new document was put in front of them that, again, was not something that the Greek government felt it could sign. So where does it leave us from here? Well, there's 10 days to go until Greece's current bailout programme expires. And if they can't get funding between now and then, the real worry for the Eurozone countries is that the Greek banking system could collapse, and that could kick the nation out of the Eurozone.
And Nina, there are some red lines which Greece's finance minister is not prepared to cross. What are they?
Well, this is the point. Are we going to have compromises? Are we going to have conditions set? We really don't know. We already know what general sides of the boundary each side is standing on. Germany, a number of other Eurozone countries inside that single currency bloc, including, as I said before, the Netherlands, staunchly against the idea of giving Greece any more money if Greece does not stick to the terms of its original bailout. But again, the new Greek government that's just been ushered in, led by a radical leftist movement, which is the Syriza party, of which Mr. Tsipras, Mr. Varoufakis, the Prime Minister and Finance Minister, respectively, are key members, has repeatedly said we were elected on a mandate of no austerity, pushing back on the austerity measures that so far have been dictated to Greece through its 2 previous bailouts. What Greece actually wants is not necessarily more bailout money with strings attached, but more time to negotiate what they would like to see as a bridge loan here, so a more flexible financial agreement, one that will allow Greece to determine its own future, and one which, crucially, Lynda, will not have the same strings attached as the one that they currently have today.
And Nina, as we have failed talks after failed talks, what sort of impact is this having on the Greek economy?
Yeah, well, if you take a look at the stock market, at the moment today, again, it's suffering another 2.5% fall. A lot of that fall, as we've seen in previous days, Lynda, is largely led by the banking sector, because the real fear here for Greece is that we've already had a few billion taken out of the Greek financial sector so far, but we could see a run on the banks if this country's financial future isn't sorted out beyond February the 28th, which is the date at the end of next week, as I said before, when its current bailout programme expires. If the Greeks were to allow their government to go past that deadline without having any kind of financial backstop in place, it does mean that if people pull their money out of the bank, the ECB, the European Central Bank, would not necessarily be in any position of obligation to try and save those Greek banks and save depositors' money. And then you get into a situation where governments like this would have to theoretically impose what's called capital controls, prevent people from taking their money out of the country. It's the type of thing we saw back in 2001 in Argentina. Argentina defaulted on its debt and its economy collapsed. It's not the type of thing that anyone wants to see happen in the Eurozone.
It's a very messy and complex situation. Nino Dos Santos in London, thanks so much for joining us.